Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your main man, Killer B, doggone witch finder general. You got witch, I burn it behinds up. Um, I'm here kind of early today. I said I'll be going live this afternoon. Last night had a good show last night. You guys should check that out. That I did Palo Monte and their history and stuff coming from Africa to the Americas and the influence of that time on the Bakongo people by Christianity. So today, uh, came across a great article. Yo, what up, Nagy? I dropped the link for you. Um, Beatriz Kimpa Vita is someone that I came across and I found quite interesting in how I don't know. I'm just gonna read the information. We're gonna talk about it as we go along. It's pretty interesting. I'm gonna make some humor out of it and stuff like that. Yeah, Nagy, it is. Let me drop this link here for you. So I'd like to thank all my supporters, Nagy Springfield, Sister P, Brainstorm Homeschool Academy, um, Myron. We got Myron Edwards, and we got Siberia's Sleeping Serpent and Josh. Right? Um, Copy this link, Nagy. I wonder if you heard of this woman. It's quite interesting. Um, Kind of humorous too at some parts. Um, Hold on. Sorry. Three people in the room. Make sure y'all hit that like button on the way in. We got Yahweh P. Israel. What's up, dude? Yasharal. Ariel, you want to pronounce. Ain't you the dude that came out when I was talking about Rise of the Moors? I'm not sure. But I've been meaning, be looking for you. Get back with me. What's up, Nagy?
Oh no.
Yeah, I think it'd be a pretty interesting topic. Yo, what up, New Era Kang? And you did watch Chris up in that debate. Don't let nobody fool you.
What did he debate Chris on?
Some kind of economic thing or whatever you call it.
Oh, okay.
Not exactly what it was about, but I remember it going down. Like I'm like, damn, New Era smoking them, and like Chris trying to act like it ain't happening. He was smoking them. He was looking like a fool. Yahweh says, speaking my people again. Go Congo. That's what's up, man. All right, yeah. You being Israelite, you might find this kind of interesting too. I know Nagy probably will. Nagy, have you heard of this one before?
Oh, what's her name?
Beatriz Kimpa Vita.
No, never.
All right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna read a little bit on her, and then I'm gonna get more into the history. She started a sect called the Antonians. Right? It was a Syncretic Bakongo Catholic movement. Basically, what she did, she saw that the missionaries and the people that were running the whole show weren't really that sincere. And she kind of, from my understanding, like my own personal understanding, that she went a little crazy. And
so, can I just say something? This sounds familiar. I've heard of things like this.
It is very interesting, and it's dealing with Catholicism.
Oh yeah. Catholicism. Yeah,
Catholicism. So I don't know. It's real interesting. Usually, you don't hear too much about Black people in Catholicism,
unless it's like tied to like voodoo or something. Voodoo.
And but who she was supposedly a noble, or like, you know what I mean, like a wealthy person in that kingdom, and she accepted the Catholic religion, but she was also a Nganga, which like in the Congo, like Nganga in the Americas is
Yeah,
like
yeah. It means like a priest. I knew that. Yeah.
so knowledgeable and stuff and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
she was one of those that turned Catholic, but basically her thing was a mix. Because like I was reading last night, they were allowing these people to. It wasn't much. I don't know. Is it what I'm gonna read today, or something else I had planned to read to y'all before? But it was saying how I forgot which book I was reading, but it was saying how the Catholics, they didn't care too much at how they practice it, but it was more about the getting the offerings and what do you call it? Like they do certain rituals or whatever, and they know they're getting some money. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. It's getting paid to do
The service,
functions of the church. Yes.
right? They're more into doing that.
And there's actually a word for that. It's not a good thing. It's not considered a good thing. It's called simony. It's when you pay for position or certain things like positions.
Yeah.
Like to become a bishop, if you just pay someone and get raised to bishophood, that's what that is.
Wow. Okay.
It actually comes from a man who tried to get the gift of the Holy Spirit from the apostles. He offered them money, a bribe of sorts, to give him that gift as well.
Huh.
And that's where the name comes from, because his name was Simon Magus.
Wow, I gotta look that up.
He was a guy who actually would later go on to found one of the largest Gnostic schools. So it must not have had an impact on him. He must have just gone and done his own thing.
Yeah. Well, this woman Beatriz, and this goes all the way back to the 15th century in sub-Saharan Africa, like in the Congo, like that the Catholics been there, like they've been there a long time, and she claimed that Saint Anthony spoke through her through a vision to create a new type of Catholicism.
And you know what that reminds me of a guy who said that the Virgin Mary spoke to him through the TV. I'm not even making it up. That's a real thing. And this guy started a cult called the Movement for the Restoration of the Ten Commandments. It was also in Africa. Thing is, he had all his followers killed.
Wow.
So sometimes this can go tragically.
But this person, she had a huge following, like a very big following. I come across the numbers, like she had, after she died, like they still kept it going, and they went against an army or whatever with 20,000 people. I'm like, damn. But like, she was crazy. My understanding, she was crazy, and she went through a lot of marriages too. Like, know what I mean? So kind of solidified her. She probably, the dudes probably wasn't trying to mess with her no more because she's crazy. So
Yeah,
like,
you see too much of someone and you go, man, I can't put up with this.
yeah. So like the way they did their marriages is that you had the traditional native marriage, right? And with that, it was almost like an engagement. It was like the engagement period. Like, you know what I mean? So like you with the woman, you feeling her out, and it could come to a point like, nah, she ain't the one for me. And you could bring her back to where she came from. Like going back to your mama and daddy and shit. We don't need you over here. I'm looking for something a little bit more polished. So
yeah, I want something a little less, involved, low maintenance.
Yeah, there you go.
I completely understand that, but yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, so then there would be the Catholic marriage, and that one would be official. So they practice their customs, but differently. But this woman was she took the Catholicism and incorporated like the native traditions and practices. You know what I mean? How they dealt with certain things, or their way of worship. Like it was Catholicism, but they practiced it the way they wanted to, according to their tradition.
So she Africanized some of it.
Right. And it said like a lot of the difference, some of the differences that she's rejected the cross also, and it was seen to be responsible for Christ's death, and also held that heaven was for Africans.
Okay.
She believed in a black Jesus, that Jesus was black, and that Jesus was actually from the Congo.
Okay, and she is straight lunatic now. Okay.
Right. But it's very interesting. But it's like a crazy person seeing wrong and trying to solve the issue, but with a crazy person mind. So like the intentions might have been good, but
yeah, she may have good intentions, but she went off the rails or started snorting them. I don't know which one, but
but yeah, it's crazy. So let me get into this. Let me share my screen here. Get into this. So we get in and out of here. I don't know. Don't start that shit, Yahweh. Excuse my language. I done triggered them. And then notice I said she crazy. So when y'all want to have this thing go to y'all head, all right. Kimpa Vita was born in 1684 in the Kingdom of Congo, which isn't there anymore. The kingdom had been founded sometime in the 13th and 14th century and was located south of the Congo River on the western coast of Africa. In the mid 17th century, it covered an area roughly twice the size of Ireland. It had a population of about 500,000 people. Fully 20% of them lived in the capital of Mbanza, Congo, which at the time the Portuguese insisted on calling South Salvador. We spoke on South Salvador last night. That included their ruler, the Minicongo, the king of the Congo. From here, he controlled not just his own kingdom, but also exerted control over a half dozen surrounding client kingdoms. Everything changed for the Kingdom of Congo in 1485, when the Minicongo at the time, the Zinga, the Kubu, converted to Christianity. The Portuguese had first arrived in the kingdom 2 years earlier, and as was the tradition with the two superpowers of the Iberian Peninsula at the time, Portugal and Spain, the journey was as much missionary work as it was for mercantile. That's not to say it wasn't mercantile as well. No, the two countries forged trading bonds and had cultural exchanges. The first school in Congo was set up by a native who had gone to Portugal to learn, while Mbanza, Congo, became the biggest slave trading port in the West Coast. It wasn't Congo citizens being sold though, at least not usually. Instead, the tribes fighting wars within the continent would capture the losers in those conflicts and sell them to traders who would take them to the coast. There, the Portuguese would load them on ships and take them across to the South American colonies, where their lives would be spent to create wealth in the form of sugar, coffee, and other cash crops. The Zinga's son, Mavemba, was baptized a Christian and became King Alfonso I, and he made Christianity the state religion of Congo. in the early 16th century. The original version of Christianity in Congo was highly syncretic, like the Celtic Church in Ireland. It took on elements of the pre-existing religion in order to make itself more acceptable. So that's interesting too. I never knew that about and that makes sense. The Celtic Church that does kind of
they adopted a lot of things.
Okay. Are churches, Irish Catholic churches, are they what you would call a Celtic church or a Celtic?
Yeah. That's what Celtic means. It means like a more native interpretation. What they did is they had different holidays, like Easter fell on a different day than the Roman calendar.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So what they did is they calculated it not according to the Jewish, but according to a different way of determining what day it fell on. So that's how they did it, and other things as well. Just the way they ran things.
All right.
I could probably do some digging and find out the exact details, but I know Easter was a big one. And that wasn't exactly uncommon. You had the Coptic Church, which did things differently because they were more on the eastern side. The Western, had the Catholics and everything. The funny thing is there was a schism at one point. They kind of decided they didn't like each other. So East and West went their separate ways. And then, of course, Martin Luther and the rest of them kind of messed it all up even more. So. Am I gonna have to? Oh, I'm gonna have to hold it down for a few minutes at least. All right, so yeah, like I was saying, the East and West schism was like a crazy thing that happened. And then after it, the whole, various people tried to change things. It gets crazy when you read about this stuff, especially when you read about the Anglican Church, how they had a whole issue over how they were gonna, do things and rewriting this and rewriting that, and yeah, so it's crazy. But I read about it just so I can educate people. I even have videos on this on my channel if you guys are interested. So I'm not going to say come over to my channel and check it out, but feel free to, I guess. I know most of people from Judah Nazareth's channel are watching me anyway, so maybe I'll get to educate them on the church schisms and everything.
Yeah. All right, I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Welcome back.
What's up, Big O? All right, let's get back to this. All right. Over time, extreme Catholicism, partially due to the efforts of the Counter-Reformation throughout the church, and particularly to allow the Portuguese monarchy to use it as a tool of control. They had more influence over the church, and so they could ensure that it was a Portuguese bishop who had authority over the priests of the Congo. This move back towards a more orthodox Catholicism was shepherded first by members of the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, and then by the members of the Capuchin order. I gotta do a show on that. The relationship between Portugal.
Oh, just one thing before you go on. The Society of Jesus of the Jesuits were they were crazy in a good way and a bad way. I should actually make a video on that.
Huh. Yeah, I definitely look.
I definitely will. That's an interesting topic. But yeah, go on. I just wanted to make a comment on that.
Okay. The relationship between Portugal and Congo deteriorated in the 17th century, mostly due to the establishment of the Portuguese colony of Angola to the south of Congo in 1575. In contrast to their behavior towards Congo, Angola was a more traditional colonization, which is to say, the Portuguese took the Portuguese took direct control of the area, and the natives were swiftly turned into second-class citizens. Though Congo was an ally in their battles to conquer Angola, it soon became clear that Portugal would be perfectly happy to put their former allies under exactly the same regime. In 1622, Portuguese forces invaded the Congo, but were beaten back. And the men of Congo severed ties and made an alliance with the Dutch. Then, in 1665, one of the tiny kingdoms on the border between Angola and Congo had had a succession crisis. The Portuguese and the Congolese each took a different side, and each sent forces to fight in the proxy war. And King Antonio of Congo led his own forces into battle. And though his army outnumbered the Portuguese 2-1, they were defeated and was killed. His heir, still a boy, was captured, and many of the royal families were either killed or wound up sent to Brazil as slaves. The results was a brutal civil war that would rage on for decades. In 1678, as a result of this war, Mazanza, Congo was burned to the ground, and the population were forced to flee, tearing the heart of the country. It was into the chaos that Kimpa Vita was born. Her birth year is usually given as 1684. Some sources say 1686. It was traditional in Congo at that time. She was given a traditional name at birth, Kimpa, and was named of a European saint at baptism. Her family were upper class, being what is known as Mwana Congo family. As this name suggests, it means that someone in her ancestry was a former king of the Congo. They were one of the richer families in the village who had both slaves and serfs work in the fields for them. Her father led the local units who occasionally went off to fight in the civil wars during her childhood. From an early age, Beatrice was considered special. She was intelligent and spiritual, and was given to having visions. As a result, she was trained as an Nganga Marinda. And the traditional beliefs of the Congo people, the Nganga was a messenger for the spirits, one who used the kisi or sacred totems to communicate with the spirit world. A Nganga Marinda was one who used this communion to try to solve the problems of the people as a whole, as opposed to solving the problem of any one person. The office was not, in their minds, entirely incompatible with the Christian beliefs. Weren't Catholic priests just Nganga Nzambi, which is the messenger of God? However, Beatrice did decide in the end that this practice was incompatible with her Christianity, so she abandoned it. She may have been influenced in this by an ongoing conflict at the time between the Capuchin order and the older religious beliefs, personified by the Compassi lodges. I'm going to do the video on the Compassi. The Compassi were a loosely affiliated set of secret societies that would organize to try to resolve problems that were clearly caused by the spirits being angry at the tribe. In order to dispel this, they would carry out a long ceremony where volunteers are ritually sacrificed, tied up onto a wall, and left until they fell unconscious, and then revived by prompt treatment. The belief was that in doing this, their bodies would be partially possessed by the spirits, and that this would give them the power to dispel the suffering. What truly incensed the Capuchins about this was the Christian symbology that the Compassi added to their rituals. after all, so they thought, was Christianity itself, not about such a resurrection. On the other side, the Ngangas in general, the Compasi in particular, were, in the words of Father Marcelino of the Capuchins, witches and priests of idols. On the 24th March 1699, he held a group of students and burned a Compasi lodge to the ground. The next day, he did it again. And on the following Sunday, he declared all the Compasi excommunicated. Hit that like button, y'all. All right. So Beatrice had decided to stop working as an Nganga Marinda. This didn't mean that she was on the side of the priests. In the eyes of the Congolese, the priests literally were just another type of Nganga. And though their spiritual knowledge was respected, they were far from considered supreme. She had other things in her mind, however. As the 18th century dawned, the young Beatriz Kimpa Vita was having marital difficulties. The custom of the people at the time was for them to have a wedding using the native customs, which would be dissolved. And then after a trial period of a year or two, they would have a Christian marriage, which would be permanent. But Beatrice didn't have the temperament for marriage. Twice she was wed, and twice she was returned home, and her bride price was returned to her ex-husband. Wow. And then in 1704, she fell ill, and St. Anthony came to her, and everything changed. Here we go. The first recorded prophet to arrive in the Congo at the time was an unnamed woman in 1703 who had a vision of the Virgin Mary. She was told that the unending civil wars were because the people had angered God, and that they must daily recite the Hail Mary 3 times and then beg for forgiveness. Soon the ritual became so widespread that the Capuchins became disturbed. Another prophet, this time a man, began preaching that the capital in Mabanza, Congo, which was being rebuilt at the time, must be reoccupied as soon as possible to prevent disaster. Then a woman named Apolliana Mafuta became preaching iconoclasm, declaring that even crucifixes and Bibles were potentially blasphemous artifacts. She attained enough of a following that the king himself had brought her to his court and spoke to her. The Capuchins wanted her arrest and tried for heresy, but the king decided against it. They were less than pleased by this. Beatriz Kimpa Vita own epiphany occurred during her illness in 1704. While she lay sick, she had a vision of St. Anthony of Padua. That's how you pronounce it. He was one of the most significant Portuguese saints.
It's Padua, but you got it almost right.
Okay. He was one of the most, thanks. He was one of the most significant Portuguese saints. So had been highly emphasized by the missionaries in Congo. According to her later accounts, St. Anthony entered and possessed her just as the use of the Compasi were possessed. She arose from her sickbed filled with the belief that she had a destiny to fulfill. Once again, she took on the office of the Nganga Marinda, but this time the problem she intended to solve were on a national scale. It didn't take long for Beatrice, like Mafuta, to come to the king's attention. With the authority of a Nganga Marinda protecting her, she denounced the Capuchins, claiming that the reason they had demanded Mafuta to be handed over was so that there would be no blank saints in Congo. Like the previous prophets, she had preached that Mabanza Congo needed to be reoccupied. When the king let her go, she went out into the country to preach and soon evolved her message further. To the crowds that soon assembled to hear her preached. Donna Beatriz Kimpa Vita began to preach a radical new theology. There were saints in Congo, she told, for she was not proof. For was she not proof, but that was not all. She told them that they had been lied to, and that the European-looking images of Jesus and Mary that adorned the Catholic Church were false. Which this writer says, which were true, of course. Instead, she told them that Jesus had been born in Congo, in the city of Bakongo. His mother Mary had been the slave of a Congolese nobleman, and she had fled with him to the northern province of Nasundi. This, she said, was what the scriptures referred to as Nazareth. The rest of her theology can be gleaned from her teachings. So God wants an intention. It is the intention that God grasps. Baptism serves nothing. It is the intent that God takes. Confession serves nothing. It is the intention that God wants. Oh, I'm sorry. It is the intention that God wants. Good works serve no purpose. Intention is what God wants. The saints also figure in her mythology, and she also made them Congolese. Saint Francis, who was associated with the Capuchin order, was from the same clan as the man who had been Mary's master. Saint Anthony, her own inhabiting spirit, was given special veneration. To him, she attributed the preeminence among saints that the Catholics gave to Mary. Saint Anthony is the merciful one. Saint Anthony is the restorer of the kingdom of Congo. Saint Anthony is the door to heaven. Saint Anthony holds the keys to heaven. Saint Anthony is above the angels and the Virgin Mary. The word of her preaching reached Father Bernardo, the leader of the Capuchins in Congo, and advisor to the King Pedro, one of the two rival claimants to the throne. She sent for her and interviewed her. It didn't go well for him. He was unable to shake her composure and lost his temper, accusing her of witchcraft. It was not Saint Anthony who possessed her, he said, but the devil. After she had left, he went to the king and convinced him to support him when he denounced her that Sunday at Mass as a prelude to the trial for heresy. His scheming was in vain, though. Whether warned by friends or by a presentiment of doom, she left the king's camp the day before. Beatrice continued to preach and soon had amassed a large following who became known as Antonians. In October of 1704, she visited the court in King Joa, the other claimant to the throne. He was even less open to her teachings than King Pedro had been, but she still managed to recruit even more followers from his capital. She was forced to flee the capital when King Joa sent his guards to attack her and her followers, but she claimed to her followers that she had achieved her mission in his capital and had retrieved the key piece of royal regalia, a bag containing a papal bull given to a previous king. She hadn't, but they believed her. So they followed her, and she set off to do what neither king could do: restore Bakongo, Congo. In November of 1704, as the Southern Hemisphere rainy summer had got underway, Don Beatriz Kimpa Vita and her followers arrived in Bakongo, Congo. It was hard going for the first few months, as they had little food. After that, the corn they had planted when they arrived ripened, and things grew easier. Her success is reestablishing the capital won her a lot of respect from the peasants of the kingdom, and in turn got the ire of the nobles. In 1705, she began to send out missionaries, who she called Little Antonians, to preach her teachings. Many of them claimed to be possessed by lesser saints. In the Antonian theology, all other saints were lesser, such as Saint Lucy, Saint Isabel. They distributed little statues of Saint Anthony to replace the crucifixes that people had previously worn. And they told everyone that the European priests were liars. Throughout 1705, the power of the movement grew, and several nobles began to take action against it, arresting and expelling the Little Antonians. The Antonians had their supporters, though. The forces of the Campanzu, descendants of the earlier king, who had fled into exile and who opposed both Pedro and Enzo, mobilized to protect them. In earlier 1706, King Pedro moved into position to mount an attack on him. Unbeknownst to him, it was an excellent time to do so, as circumstances had forced Beatriz to separate herself from her followers. She didn't want them to discover her secret, that she was pregnant. Sometime around when she arrived in Mazana, Congo, check this out, y'all. Beatriz had begun an affair with a young man named Joao Barro. He was one of the staunchest supporters, but they had kept their relationship secret due to her preaching on the virtues of chastity. The strict celibacy of the European priests had won them a lot of respect from the Congolese. So Beatriz was pressured to at least appear to match them. In fact, she even founded an order of celibate Congolese nuns, though that never really took off. It was around the middle of 1705 when Beatriz became pregnant, and at first she was able to hide it from her followers. By the beginning of 1706, though she knew she would have been removed herself from public view, so she told her followers that she was going to ascend into heaven to communicate with God. She had claimed to be doing this every Saturday for the last few months. So this was just an extension of that. So she was smart tricking these people. She told them to have patience until her return, and then she left. So she already groomed them to believe, like, when she was going to leave, like, know what I mean, that she was going up in heaven, but really she was having the damn baby. That's slick. So she did it, know what I mean, on I guess a monthly basis for like 4 months. Oh, she's doing it on a weekly basis. I guess take off for a little time here, take off for a little time here, and it just get longer, and then finally she go for like a minute, like quite a while. In truth, she had headed back to the village where she had been born to visit her family and give birth to her child. She and Zobaro went into hiding there, and she gave birth to a son. She named him Antonio, of course, after the saint that she embodied. Unfortunately, for King Pedro's troops passed through the village, and they heard Antonio crying from the stacks of grain. They investigated and discovered Joao, Beatriz, and the child. So it was that she fell into the hands of her enemies. Look at the chat. I ain't looked in the chat. Yo, what up, Siberians? Let's see you up in here. This is about the Catholic Church in Africa. They just butchered her teachings. What you mean they butchered them?
I think he's trying to say that the article didn't get her right or something because he doesn't like what he's hearing.
All right, so do you know more on her? You can come up in here.
I don't think so. He probably sees her in a glowing light because he's projecting all kinds of things. And
that's what I was saying. I was getting to, Nikki. That's why I wanted to come up on here, but you spoiled it.
Of course, like I always do, but you know.
I didn't want to say nothing. I wanted to hear it from him. And then it was gonna go down and shit. But you just fucked that up. But anyway. But you come out and I want to hear what kind of shit he got to say. Or
he probably likes the idea of only Africans going to heaven, but that's just
or like Jesus was from Africa or something. I don't know. I'm trying to set him up. Like, yeah. Out of hearing.
Hey, maybe he'll still come on. Hey, come on, jump on, talk to us. We want to know. We really want to know. Come on.
Oh, the Saturday Sabbath. Her church is still about. You know what? You might be right on that, because I did come across this before, and I might have mentioned this in a video, maybe, but I know I seen this. I didn't pay that much attention to it, but I did last time I researched it. I do recall, or if you remember me doing a show on this, but I do recall the group being in some form still around, maybe. I hope it's not Hebrew Israelites. but that's crazy though. Like, you know what I'm saying? How she just straight up swagger jack the Catholicism and turned it into her own thing. And said, nah, they all black. And the Catholic people looking at her like, you know, what you talking about? Like, nah, they was all black. Anthony, Mary, Jesus, what was his name? Gabriel, everybody, Lazarus. It was all black. It was all black. All right. I'm hearing that. Wait, I forgot to put the link in. It was all black. All right. On hearing that his men had captured her, the king spent some time in consideration. Eventually, he decided that this was not a civil but a religious matter. He intended to send her to Luanda in Angola, where the bishop who was in charge of Congo lived. As supreme authority over the church in the area, he was the correct person to try her. However, Father Bernardo, the Capuchin who had crossed paths with Beatrice before, argued against this. He was afraid that the bishop would simply rebuke and release her, while he felt that a strong lesson was needed to put an end to her heresy. Father Bernardo himself had no authority to try someone for heresy, but he persuaded the king to try her under civil law. But this loophole, Donna Beatriz Kimpa Vita was convicted. She and Balvera and Apolliana Mufata, who had been captured separately, were sentenced to be burned alive. Beatrice accepted her sentence calmly. She had herself decided that this was a punishment for her sin in sleeping with Joel Barrow. She asked the priest if there was a way for her to absolve herself in this sin. The sacrament of holy confession was not normally practiced in Congo at that time, but Father Bernardo decided that it would be a good fit. So she and Zolbaro made full confessions to him. It is thanks to his failure to respect the seal of the confession that we have much of our insight about her history. So homeboy was telling. On the 2nd of July, 1706, sentence was carried out. Apolliana Mufata was spared due to her advanced age and clear senility. King originally intended to burn the baby Antonio as well, but one of the Capuchins, Father Lorenzo, managed to persuade him to relent. The pair were brought out into a square and the charges were read out. Beatriz was about to address the crowd, but their patience had worn thin during the charges, and they broke through the guards and rushed them. The pair were beaten like dogs, then thrown onto the piles of wood, then covered with more wood. Then the fire was set. It burned quickly, and in the words of Father Bernardo, in the time it takes to say a prayer, they gave up their souls. Beatriz was only 22 years old when she died. The death of Beatriz didn't mean the end of Antonians, of course. Death and rebirth had been part of their teachings from the beginning. And many of her followers decided that her execution by the king had simply been the fulfillment of what she had told them before she left, that she was going into heaven to consult with God. Wow. So they took when she was trying to be slick with them while she was pregnant. So they done took what she was saying, the high she was pregnant before, to say that she going again. Unbelievable. They persuaded the Kampanzu rebels in the city to disassociate themselves from the Antonians. Though this didn't bring an end to the rebellion. It wasn't until 1709 that King Pedro captured the city. The same year, he defeated King Zol and brought an end to the civil wars that had raged in the last 50 years. But the people who have followed, almost done here. Of the people who had followed Donna Beatriz Kimpa Vita to Mabanza, Congo, many, if not all of them, would wound up captured by the king's forces and sold into slavery. See that? That was the Israelites. They sold us into slavery. Those Africans.
That's almost too spot on.
Yeah. So once again, we get a cult kicking the same technology to the people.
Same game.
Yeah, it's the same game. And it's like 1700. Running the same game.
Wow.
Am I lying or what? And what? And just like how they said now, where you got that dude Ozone, Ortho Wallace, that shot that cop in Florida, they calling him King David. He's the new Messiah, and just like that, he going to jail. They will persecute us for righteousness' sake.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work though. Shooting a whole bunch of people is not righteous.
Yep. Now they fry his ass. They're gonna be saying, "Oh, you see, he went up into heaven."
Yeah, a crucifixion in the 21st century.
Yep.
That's what they're gonna call it. Really.
It's crazy.
Whatever. Nut jobs. Same thing.
The majority of these were transported in slave ships across the Atlantic, some to Brazil to serve in the Portuguese plantations there, and others sold on to the Dutch and English and sent to the American colonies. The teaching of Donna Beatriz were declared heretical, and the people of the Congo were ordered to forget them. Yet, to this day, there are descendants around the world still draw inspiration from the story of the woman who had stood against the European priests and who had dared to preach about a Jesus who had been black like them. I give y'all the link to the article here. I could totally see Israelites trying to, like, you know what I mean, do surgery on this history and make it their own and use it as like a source or something. But for what we read, you know what I mean, they can't do that, but they will try. I could see them on the street corner bringing her up, and she taught that Jesus was black, but they won't say that she taught that Jerusalem was Africa. in the Congo. You know what I mean? They'll leave
I mean, I can certainly see it. The funny thing is, they would just change some of the names of the people that they were claiming to be, like the apostles or what have you.
Yep.
They changed the name of saints and whatnot.
Oh, you know, saints just mean Israelites. Like,
Yeah, the holy ones is how they call it. They go the Kanashayam or whatever.
Yep. See, when they said saint, they wasn't talking about no white men. They were talking about the black Israelites. So, cause we was taught that all the saints is all black. We was taught that. Oh yeah.
It's just crazy to read about this stuff or hear about it, because this is something that I like to read about, but on the other hand, I really don't like it. It's just something that there's educational value. It's just really weird because this isn't the only instance. There's so many instances of groups coming along, changing something up.
Yep.
Like what I was saying about Buddhism, what they did with when they came in contact with the Nestorian Christians.
Right.
They had to change their doctrine to basically compete with the Nestorians. So it's the same thing. It's just, change something here and there, and boom, new doctrine.
It says, according to the vision, Jesus was born in Bakongo, Congo, and baptized not in Nazareth, but in the northern province of Nasundi, while Mary's mother was a slave to the Congo nobleman. That's crazy. Beatriz also disclosed new versions of, so she made new Hail Marys, and new, the other one is what, the Hail Queen or something. I guess it's some type of Catholic prayer, and that she made new versions of it that were more relevant to Congolese modes of thought. Said she prophesies a new golden age to her followers, one that will follow the end of the European presence in the Congo. European treasures would be found around the Congo capital city of Mbanza, Congo, by her followers, and trees would turn to silver and gold. You hear that? So,
oh yeah, I definitely do hear that. That sounds crazy.
Yep. They would go back to that capital city, and they would find all the treasures that the white people had there. And they said the trees would turn to silver and gold. It said, but she acknowledged the papal authority, yet her cult was hostile to European missionaries.
Yeah, the papal authority, but yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So that's basically like the Pope, right? Like the head in Rome.
Yeah, exactly. That's the authority of the Pope in Rome. Yes.
He said, like, you know what I'm saying? So she acknowledged that, but her cult was hostile to European missionaries, teachings that they were corrupt and unsympathetic to the spiritual needs of Congolese Catholics. So they saw like they were some kind of, or maybe they wasn't. She was just crazy as shit.
Like, I mean, some of the things she says, like get rid of the Bible, was kind of like, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when you do that?
Listen to her.
Makes that's exactly it. Makes me think of Lex Vortex, but,
And people won't think of that. Like they won't think. Like
shoot up the Bible. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, we can have after. We can have two nights.
or whatever. Yes. The leader or whatever.
You don't need a tour. You got Judah Nash.
Yeah, just shred it, burn it. Absolutely stupid. That's when you know it's straight up a cult. No questions asked.
Yep, no questions asked.
And if you ask any questions, you'll probably find yourself on the wrong side of the whole group, because they'll beat you to death.
Yep. They like, you know what I'm saying? They want the white man out of the land, but it's not. They want the white man out of the land because they're a problem and they causing all this stuff. They want them out the land because they want it for themselves. You know what I'm saying? They want it for themselves. So they
Yeah. It's a land grab. It's like, it's not like they were well, they were colonized, but like
this
if you can't beat slave master, become the slave master.
yep, yep,
Or if you do beat the slave master, become the slave master.
unbelievable. Yeah, she was wild though.
And treat your own people much worse than they did. Because
Yeah, yep, yep. That's exactly what they
the
got.
whip stings even more, and it even feels worse when they throw you in, prison.
20,000, yo. Yeah, she had a sort of army of like 20,000. That's a lot of goddamn people.
That's quite a few, and it's kind of scary. That's a scary thought.
And what's real even scarier is that Hebrew Israelites could get to that side if if you put them all together, they're there right now.
Yes. The good thing is they can't even agree on so many things, but yes, they're enormous.
Good part, because if they did, they would definitely try something. Look like IUIC. They really think they're a military. Like they really, really think they're military.
And they're the most unhinged. The leadership is like they got mental illnesses.
Yeah. Yep.
Just like this.
Yep. Unbelievable, man. Hey, you learn something new every day, though.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Antonio. So I keep thinking Antonio. Like I think that's how I came across this before, because I was researching like the Antonians, right, and I might have misspelled something and came across that. I think
Well, that's very good luck, and this stuff is fascinating. But like I said, it produces victims. Like that's part. Well, like maybe I didn't say that exactly, but cults produce victims.
Yeah.
And they hurt people, and they're not good.
Yep. And it can lead all these other people to want to go consult with God.
I mean, the thing is, if a person wants to pray to God for wisdom, that's one thing. But when they go to other people and they try to socially manipulate them, then it becomes like a problem.
So they didn't burn the baby. They wanted to burn the baby, but somebody stopped them. They were gonna throw the baby in the
Oh
fire.
yeah. That reminds me of the one Mormon dude who showed everyone his order from God to kill a baby and a woman, and no one stopped the guy.
Wow.
Like he was telling people about it like it was just something normal.
There's some crazy people out there. But
There's absolutely.
Was that baby hid from the public so this group, this sect, couldn't?
No, it was like someone that he knew, and he really did believe that he had a prophecy from God of sorts.
Yeah.
He believed he was the head of a thing called the School of the Prophets. He got that somewhere from the prophetic books. I forget which one, but there was actually a group of prophets back in the Old Testament where they, called themselves something like that, but he used that name. He like jacked it for his own purposes. It's just really weird. People do that all the time with everything you can imagine. And sometimes they'll even make stuff up. Like you wouldn't believe how many things people have made up. I'll give you an example. In Britain, there was a guy named Gerald Gardner, and he was a civil servant and pretty much retired by the time he created a cult called Wicca. And he claimed it had something to do with ancient witch cult type stuff. But what it was is it was mostly stuff he made up and stuff that he basically stole from his friend at the time, the infamous Aleister Crowley. He basically took stuff from his writings and tried to create his own little religion. So it's kind of crazy what people will do to make something like that. Like I said, even make stuff up out of whole cloth or steal it. But that's the problem. That's what makes many of these groups so dangerous, is that people will completely make up something out of their own, imagination. And then later it becomes an established tradition and no one's asking any questions because they're thinking it's something established, so it can't be wrong. Unreal. You see that all over the place. You see that all over the world, I should make a video on that, actually, on what I just said about Gerald Gardner. Because that guy, he's produced a monster that's completely changed its whole look since he created it.
My bad. I shut my own self.
Oh, how you doing? I was just talking about how someone can create something out of their own imagination.
Yep.
Completely without any historical background except what they claim. So that's the roots of many cults.
Yep. Happens all the time. Yep. So yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out. Oh yeah, New Era King was up in here. Yeah, the means of production that we debated Chris Harris on. The means of production. Yeah, Chris didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. And he was just trying to sound smart. You know how a motherfucker think he's smarter than
some. Oh yeah, big words, Dunning-Kruger type stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll win with sound. Just sounding like sounding smart, but don't be saying nothing. Like doing the Judah ass. Just talking, not saying nothing.
I just call it the politician. That's what it is.
Yep.
It's
politician.
I don't believe what I'm saying. I'm just saying it.
Yep. It sounds good. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna get up out of here, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. It's make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Share this mug and hit that goddamn like button on the way out or the way in. However it goes. But anyway, y'all. All right, man. Have a good one. Thanks.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'll see you next time.
Yep. Peace.
Take care.